All right, welcome back to another episode of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. So today's episode is more of an explanation of a question I get quite a bit. And I think a lot of it comes down to most taxpayers not understanding that the tax system is connected to the legal system. So let me explain. When Congress passes laws, those are legal rules, right? They're laws. And many times these laws that get passed, these bills or these acts that get passed, may have some type of tax consequence, good or bad, or tax link to the IRS tax code. Okay. And so the IRS, the Treasury Department, is responsible for taking this legal decision that is going to have some kind of link to the tax code, code meaning a legal code, right? And explain how they're going to not necessarily collect, but how they're going to manage what this law just was passed within the tax code. Okay. So that being said, I have a lot of people that say, well, you know what, when you create these tax plans, how in the world can I save this much money on taxes? Well, it's just based on using the legal system. Every section code, tax code has a link to the legality of can you do this or not. This is why you have the people have that fear of being quote unquote audited, which it's really called an examination. And with an examination, what are you doing? You're preparing to be examined and to pass or fail. Now, the way you pass a IRS audit or examination is by having the documentation and proof and purpose of what you're doing that matches with the legality of the code. Very simple. So if you just have your word, that may not be enough evidence to prove why you're doing what you're doing. But if you have documentation, then you may have the evidence that proves why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. And so that's why if people get to a point where they're lying, cheating, and deceiving, they get to tax court, right? And so that is why it's a legal system, it's a legal process. Okay. So when you look at business entities, and this is where you get a lot of this conversation from, is a business entity is a legal structure. It's not a tax structure, it's a legal structure. It's there to protect the liability of the asset that that structure is holding. So a good example would also be a 401k plan. Well, what's a 401k plan? When I have asked this question, people say, well, it's a retirement plan. No, it's a legal system. It's a legal structure. It's a legal rule that is designed for the purpose of saving for retirement. And as a byproduct, there are certain benefits, such as a tax benefit, to where you can get a tax deduction on current income based on what you contribute, based on the accumulation of what's inside the 401k and the investments inside the 401k, the assets inside, they accumulate, and you defer that growth or those taxes to down the line when you have legal access to those funds. Okay. So, and in that 401k plan, basically it's an investment, but what do most investments pay? Capital gains tax, except for in a retirement account, it's there to replace income at retirement. Therefore, it is ordinary income tax based on the legality of the rule or the law within the ERISA that governs 401k. Okay. So same thing with an IRA. Same thing with a corporation or a limited liability company, LLC, or a partnership. These are all legal structures that you have to file with the tax. So you have a tax form to show how your financial asset, partnership, LLC, corporation, is performing from a financial perspective that is within the code, the legal system, and the tax code in unison of what your taxation is. Okay. So depending on the asset, there are different rules for each asset. So therefore, there are different types of income with assets. There are different types of taxability with assets based on how the structure of those assets are. Okay. So it's all there. The playbook is out in plain sight. The IRS tax code and the legal system are in plain sight. Now, where you hear these loopholes, and I use air quotes, are there because people consider things that are in the tax code or the legal system that are there. If you're able to do it, because most people don't have access to it, they call it a loophole. No. The way the tax code and the legal system works is that within taxes, the more assets you have, the more income you have, the more access to the tax code you have. Okay. So if you have less and you're an hourly or W-2 employee, you rent, you may just have a 401k plan and some cash in a checking account, maybe a little savings. Well, unfortunately, you don't have enough to be able to have access to more of the tax code. Okay, it's kind of like playing video games. Okay, the IRS tax code leaves clues. And when you get enough clues, you may find a key to a lock of a treasure chest. And so you take that key, you unlock that treasure chest, but the only way you can get the key is by having enough clues. And by having enough clues, it could be income, it could be assets, it could be wealth, whatever it may be. Okay. Then you have this key to unlock this treasure chest. And this treasure chest says, hey, here's the tax code in the legal system. You have access to this. Okay. And so you're able to grab it. And then you keep going down the game until you find more clues, and more clues give you another key, and that key unlocks a lock to another treasure chest. Okay. That is how the tax system works. So that's why the wealthy keep getting wealthier, is because they have more. They've taken more risk early on. They've done more things, they've invested more things, they've put more assets into running a business, they've hired employees, and they've done things to grow assets. And because they have multiple assets, they have access to more of the legal system or the tax code. That's just the way it is. So if you're dissatisfied with how this system works, you can actually go onto Amazon.com, buy books to learn what I just told you. That's how I learned this. I read information. Knowledge and implementation of this knowledge is power. So go find this, go ask somebody, go Google it, and go actually do. What the problem is people are looking for that old Staples easy button, that green button that just you push the red button, you just push the easy button and things just happen for you. That is not life. You've got to work, you've got to earn, you've got to sacrifice. Sometimes that means there's suffering and pain and disappointment, but there's also reward and happiness and joy and success. But you have to do it. You can't just sit there and expect the government to expect other people to just do things for you. You have to do for yourself. And that is why the legal system is there. That's why the tax code is there, to give you barriers or guidelines or rule book of what to do. Not necessarily not what not to do, but how to do things. It's the rules to play the game. It's very simple. So that's the key. So when you're working with a tax strategist and they're able to show you how you can save money on taxes, all they're doing is picking up these clues, grabbing the key, unlocking treasure chests for you, and giving you the opportunity to access things that you can. And if you can't, they will tell you you can't. But here are the things you need to do. It's very, very simple, but you have to do. You have to take action. Hey, if you like this information, if you like this content, if you like what you hear, give us a thumbs up, please. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. If you are a subscriber, thanks so much for being a subscriber and investing your time with us. And if you have any comments, please share your comments and any content you'd like to know about, or any questions that you have. Would love to hear from you so we can make sure that this content is beneficial for you as the listener. So make it a great day. My name is Robert Wolf. I'm an asset coach and tax strategist.